And I'm back. Let's call this part two. I had to stop it because of we have some building coming up nearby, and there's a borehole being dug, drilled, and ikona kelele. But they've paused now, so I'll continue. Yes, so my doctor has, for lack of a better word, abandoned us, and I'm now being rushed in an ambulance to another hospital, and we arrived there, and I honestly can't tell you what my emotions were between the car and getting in. I think I was just a bit paralyzed. But I do remember being taken into a room and meeting the new doctor who my former doctor referred us to. And that woman was heaven sent. Dr. Owende. I think I'll just mention your name because God used you and continues to use you, because once I met her, I don't know how to explain it, but she just told me to calm down. It's going to be all right. We're in a dire situation, so she didn't lie. It's a bit of a complicated situation, but it's going to be all right. And she manages to somehow get me admitted very quick and gets the medication that I need, a progesterone, in very quick, even before we've done all the payment and admission process, and gets me a good bed by the window and prepares me that I'm going to have to be there for a few days, that preterm labor is not a joke, and basically breaks everything down to us about what premature labor is. And at the stage I was, which was not even the 7th month yet, when you can at least say you're in the 3rd trimester, a baby below that would have very minimal chances of survival if she came that time. So since she's still inside, our main goal is to keep her inside. And I remember just you're just like, okay. And that's when she started introducing something like the NICU to us. And NICU is basically neonatal ICU. I had no idea before then that there was anything like an ICU for babies and small babies, man. As in, I saw small babies, and oh, this journey was an eye opener. And so my journey in hospital started, and it was quite something. Let me tell you, this is Jean, who was very independent, whose life was going according to plan. And everything had gone to plan. Even we'll get married, and then 2 years later we'll have kids. And sure enough, 2 years later we decided to have kids, and we did not struggle. We got pregnant, and I think that's when God not I think that is when God checked in to show me that that was your plan. Let me check in so that you start involving me in your plan. That your plan has to be my plan, not yours, Jean. And oh, thank you, Lord, because that is when pride started being checked. Told you need to get out, and arrogance, and just to be still, to learn how to be still and stop being such a control freak, because I was very controlling. Now, when you have a baby deciding they want to come out, you're not exactly gonna put a plug and say, just chill for a few more months, huh? So, when you're on bed rest, total bed rest, total, that means you're being bathed white in bed. You're basically doing everything that needs to be done, everything from going to the loo, being bathed, even turning, sometimes being helped, everything from being the independent moving person to being stilled by force. And that was hard, but because I really wanted to meet this baby, I was willing to do anything. And I remember even before we got into that week, we had just found out that the baby was a girl. And here's the most amazing thing. Before she was born, and even before we had given her name, because we actually gave her names even before she came. We had names for girls and boys in case whoever came. But before we knew it was a girl or a boy, we used to call the seed tulip. I can't even tell you. I think I love the shape of the tulip, and it just used to draw me in. So Mark and I used to call the little one who's coming tulip, only to learn later that a tulip, the name tulip, the flower tulip, symbolizes perfect love. Perfect love. Think about that. Perfect love and perfection. There's no one perfect on this earth. The only person perfect is Him, is Christ. And here I was already calling the little one inside perfect love, and yet now I see that it was her journey that God used to trigger me to understand what perfect love is in Him. And when we found out it was a girl, and before she came, we had already settled on her names, Zoe Nzilani Mongela. Her names were actually prophetic. We did not see it or understand it until actually we were laying her to rest, and as God has brought it out more through the years. But anyway, back to the story, and I was basically in hospital for 5 or 6 days. I went in on a Saturday, and baby came on Friday. Hey, that hospital experience was something. You're just there, and it's hope against hope that all is going to be well. And yeah, I'll just cut to the day that Zoe came, which was the 30th of March 2012. It was a Friday. Yeah, I'm a storyteller. It was a Friday, and I had a scan the day before to just find out where she was and how things were in, and even that you're being moved from the bed to the gurney, and everything is so you're being held. I was an egg. I was an egg. I couldn't be shaken, moved, nothing. And when she was checked, that was on Thursday. She was actually engaged. Now, engaged means that the baby is in the right position in your pelvis, basically at the cervix, just about ready to come. She's in position to be birthed, and I could not believe it. Usually, for such a small baby, it's very hard to get into that position, but she was in that position and ready to come out. And because I was feeling a lot of pressure, and I was just told, now we just have to take it as easy as possible. And I was taken back to the bed, and Friday came, and kawaida, as usual, Friday lunch, I have visitors. I had visitors every day, and thank you to everyone who used to come. I may not have been able to say thank you to everyone, but for every person who took time to come see us, called us, or spent time for us, or prayed in any way, thank you. So Friday, Mark and my mom were around, and I can't remember who else, but those are the two I remember, because after they left, I needed to use the bedpan. I wanted to pee, and I peed. And after peeing, I felt like something was, for lack of a better word, and I have to be descriptive for you to understand just what position I was in. I'm lying down, can't move much. I'm peeing, finish peeing, and I suddenly feel something engorging. And when I tried to feel it, it felt like a balloon. So I went into total panic. And I remember screaming, the baby is coming, the baby is coming, get a doctor, help. And my husband has left, mom has left. And I remember there were some people who are still with a lady across from me. And so a Sudanese lady came to me, and I was hysterical. And I was telling her, the baby's coming, the baby's coming. And she told me, calm down, be quiet. I told her, no, I can't, the baby's coming. The woman slapped me. Bah! I was slapped by a woman, a dark woman that I don't know. And I looked at her, and she told me, you need to calm down, because you're behaving, you're going to make the baby come out. Calm down. And I went, But I was crying. And I remember just saying, help me. I said, someone is going to be called. And I gave my phone to her. And somehow, I can't remember somehow she called Mark. I just called the last number. It was Mark. And he was called. And the next thing I saw nurses and everybody coming in. And there was a doctor, because my doctor was a bit far away at her clinic. So the doctor on call had to come in. And by the time they came, there was nothing engorging anymore. So they kept asking me, are you sure? And I'm telling them, I know what I felt. And the doctor says, okay, we have to do a vaginal exam, to see just how dilated you are. And so I get the exam done. It was the most uncomfortable thing ever. Honestly, please, people who do these exams, please, especially, I don't know, maybe it was the guy that day. That guy wasn't gentle. That was the worst thing. In fact, I remember I used to crack jokes. Thank God I can laugh about this, yeah? I used to crack jokes and say he probably just helped speed up the labor. But anyway, he checked and he told me, you're in active labor, you're 6 centimeters dilated, there's no turning back. And I remember I was crying, and at that point, Mark walks in, and Mark is in panic, and we're told to just wait for the doctor, but this baby's most probably coming today. And I'm like, no, the baby can't come. And I remember guys walked out, and Mark came in, and the next thing, I think my Dr. Owende came. And she just said, she just said, I've heard what happened. And she said, we just have to wait. We watch and wait and see. But if you're in active labor, there's no turning back. And now she starts preparing us for the worst should the baby come and not survive, and what options we have for neonatal ICUs in Nairobi. And at least the ones I knew of then were there were 4 hospitals, we were told. And so I was like, okay, I remember just telling Mark just to decide, because at that point I think I was just now trying to remain calm so that baby doesn't come, because at that point I was just telling God, Father, I cannot not meet this baby. Let me at least meet her. I need to meet her. And evening came. It was about 6 p.m. I started feeling hot, cold. I would try eat. I throw up. All these, apparently, for some people, are part of labor. So I was in labor. But here's the thing. All this time, and I'm at 6 probably plus centimeters now. In fact, Dr. Enda was checking. By the time, I think she just told me, where you are, you're 6, 8 centimeters. There's not much we can do in active labor. And we just have to be ready. Be ready for good or bad, So at this point, we've decided on which ICU, neonatal ICU, we'll go to, and we're just waiting. And I'm told now to be taken to the delivery room, and I'm taking the delivery room. And as we get into the delivery room, the Dr. Enda comes in and tells us, I think there's a nurse or a doctor who tells us, I can't have that baby there, because they've noted that the ventilator, which would help a preterm baby to breathe, is not available. It's at their other branch. And I was like, you're waiting until now to tell me that? And I just said, okay. I remember just telling Mark to just go and decide what needs to be done. As you say, I will do, because I can't think right now. And I just remember being left alone and crying and chewing on ice because I was hot, and just telling God, Father, I have to meet this baby. And I remember I was singing, but I can't remember what song I was singing to him, but I was singing. And the next thing, they came for me, and I was taken to the ambulance, and now I'm being rushed to another hospital. Now, here's the thing. Dr. Ede had to check me now just to know where exactly I was. I was at 9 centimeters dilated. I had 1 centimeter to go. Please note, all this time I've had no pain. Nothing. I felt nothing, but I'm having contractions and I'm dilating. And I'm told that, Jean, Mark, if this baby comes before you get to the hospital, you'll need to put in a deposit of, I think it was 1 million shillings. 1 million. 1 million shillings for them to touch us and take care of that baby. But if the baby stays inside my womb and comes out at the time, what I call the right time at the hospital, then we'll do the normal process of 50,000 and then build up from there as the journey goes on. And I remember hearing that and breaking, because I was telling God, I don't have 1 million shillings. We don't have 1 million shillings. But Father, I will meet this child. That was my prayer to him. And I told God, Father in heaven, I have 1 centimeter to go. Because you're God and you're the one who created whatever is in there, you will hold that 1 centimeter until we get to the hospital. Because I have to meet this baby. Please, Lord, hold that 1 centimeter. Amen. And I was put in the ambulance, and then Dr. Wende and Mark entered with, she'd actually left everything and came with us up to the hospital. And I had pillows all over. Yani, I was held, pillows and hands holding me. And when a bump came, my mom was telling me they were in a car behind us and some friends. They were following us, and with every bump, they would just say a prayer. With every bump, they say a prayer. And I'm like, whoa, okay, so isn't that just how life can be sometimes? That until those bumps come is when we're very, and I'm not saying don't pray when trouble comes, but even before that. But now I understood that even when that storm comes, to hold fast to him and just stand your ground. Stand your ground. So with every bump, even I in the ambulance was saying, God, hold, just hold. And do you know he did? He held that centimeter. Because as soon as I got to Aga Khan, and I'm telling you, everything was trying to work against us. We got there, and I think that was the old wing of Aga Khan. The old wing of Aga Khan was not, the lift wasn't working. So I had to be taken up the ramp. I think there were like 4 levels, if I'm not wrong. So everyone was there. My dad, Mark, nurses, everyone just pushing me up the ramp to get there quickly. And I get to the delivery room and I'm strapped up and, stuff is just happening. And that is when the doctor tells me, oh, Gina, you're 10 centimeters. You can push. He held. God had. He hears people. He held that 1 centimeter. He knew. Imagine God knows how much you can handle. He knows. So no matter what he brings our way, we're just supposed to trust him. Even when we're confused and everything. Because I'm telling you, in that moment, I wasn't really seeing. I was just speaking. But now when I look back, I see that could only have been the Spirit who I had said is a helper, our God. And I'm told, first of all, you get into there. Now, people, if you're having preterm labor, they won't even let you pee because, like for full term, for women, when you feel like going to the loo for a long call, which could mean the baby, for preterm labor, even peeing, wanting to susu, could be the baby coming. So I had to hold pee for I don't know how long. And once I got there, I was told I can't pee. So they had to put in a catheter. It is painful. Well, that thing is painful. So catheter is done. And now I have to be, because I can't feel contractions. Now, this is the other thing. There's induction and there's augmentation. Induction is when you're not dilating and they need to help your cervix to open. Augmentation is for people like me who do not feel their contractions and need something to help you feel the contraction. That's what augmentation is. Now, that thing is painful because in natural labor, at least you go from level to level. With augmentation, you go straight to a 10 because it was time to push that baby. And I'm being told to push, being told how to push, and labor is painful. And I remember Mark telling me later that I was just in tears and I was just tearing and just telling it's so painful. It's so painful. And being told I need to push. And I'm trying to push, but I think because of the fear in my head, my mind and my body were not working together. Until one nurse came and told me, Jean, you need to push that baby. That baby's head is so small that if you do not push, you could actually crush her head with your pelvic, in your vaginal wall. I hope I have that right. And let me tell you, that's all I needed to hear. That was all I needed to hear. Because now after that, I pushed once, and baby came out. And I'm telling you, God, I thank you for laughter because now Mark says I popped champagne because there was a sound. She was so small, so the pressure with which I pushed her in relation to her size, I remember Mark told me the doctor literally had to jump to catch her because she was so tiny. But she cried. Imagine she cried. She had life. Oh, and even if I tear, these are not tears of pain. It's just memory and God's mercy. I asked to meet her and he was actually allowing that to happen. So Zoe cried. And Zoe Nzilani Mongela came on the 30th of March 2012 at exactly 1 a.m. 1 a.m. Now, before that, sorry, got a bit distracted. Before that, I had been prepared about, you'll meet a neonatologist who are the doctors who deal with preterm babies. And I was prepared that this is not going to be a normal receiving because usually the baby is born and brought to you. But because of how small she'd be, to know that she'll be taken away from me immediately. So one of my first dreams was literally going because I'd had this picture of the baby comes and put in your arms and, baby came. I had the cry. She was so pink. And I saw little feet. She was taken to a warmer somewhere on the side. I could hear her cry. I could see her feet, but I didn't see her. And I didn't see her. And Mark was watching her and watching me. At the same time, I'm noticing that the doctor is trying to tag something on me. You birth the baby, then you have to birth placenta. Who would have known? We're not taught that in home science. They don't teach that anymore, do they? Honestly, they need to restore some of those subjects we did. Crafts, art, home science. it's important. My husband can do running stitch and stitch stuff for me. That's awesome. We need to get back that in our education system. Anyway, back to the whole thing. What I'm talking about is, yes, I had to bath the placenta, and I remember she was tugging at it and it wasn't coming out, and she was massaging my tummy, and baby is not, the placenta is not coming out, and she was telling me, Jean, if this placenta refuses to come out, we'll actually have to operate on you to remove the placenta. And I remember looking at her and thinking, no, 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 no. How is it that I've birthed a baby, and then not naturally, then you're going to go cut me because of placenta? And again, I spoke, and I just said, Father in heaven, the way that baby has come out, even the placenta comes out now. And she tugged, massaged and tugged, and it came out. It came out. There's power in what we speak when it's led by Him. I remember Mark was just standing there looking at me, and just this woman is talking and it's happening, okay. And then he starts a conversation with the doctor. This is actually like birthing, all what are we called, mammals are the same, because even cows, they birth like that, and and I'm just like, imagine, you've got to be kidding. Are we actually having this discussion in the midst of all this? And it's because his father was a vet, and he's actually helped in the birthing of animals, and he was just amazed by the process being similar. I don't know where I've shared that, but I found that very fun. Actually, and they're talking, I was a bit offended, but now I see the humor in it. God, I think, was just injecting a bit of humor to lighten what we thought was a very severe. It was an emergency. Anyway, so we go back to Zoe, and now I'm seeing her wrapped in cling film. You know what we cook with and try to keep our food warm? Cling film. Now they do that to trap the heat with preterm babies because they don't know how to regulate their body temperature yet. So she had to be wrapped. That was weird. That was weird. And after that, I saw her being put in an incubator, and she was whisked away. And she went, and I was left there being cleaned up and everything. And all I can tell you guys is that I felt so alone. I felt so empty. I felt at a loss. It was loss. The loss of not going through a full-term pregnancy. The loss of not having the baby brought into my arms. The loss of not seeing Mark receive the baby as well and cut, just everything I thought was gonna be, all that was erased, and I was just at such a loss. And I was taken to my room, and it was the general ward, and I'm taken to my bed, and my mother and my mom-in-law walk in, and they're so excited and happy, and they're congratulating me, and of course I'm smiling, thank you, but in my heart I was so broken because I'm thinking, why are you congratulating me? I've failed. I have failed. The baby hasn't come at term. She's in, I don't even know where she is. I've not seen her, but I didn't voice it, and they congratulated me and they left because it was pretty late. And Mark came and stayed with me for some time, and I thank God one of our friends was there to take him home. Munene, thank you, to take him home because it was a very confusing moment. And I'm going to just read something here. I said again that I wrote a lot before during this whole process, and I'll just be reading snippets of what I wrote just to share the journey with you. And here I've written labor. I went into premature labor on 23rd March 2012. I was 3 centimeters dilated and had to be admitted immediately. I was admitted at a hospital for 1 week where I was put on total bed rest. Took one day at a time, and Tulip kept me going by playing and kicking me, which really warmed my heart and energized me to keep going. On Thursday, 29th, no, it was actually the Friday, I felt a bulge that later confirmed that my labor had progressed and I was 6 centimeters dilated. I've shared all this, and that birth was imminent and could happen anytime. On the same evening, I was very hot and throwing up my dinner, and we didn't know that was a sign of labor, and still feeling nothing. And Dr. Enda came, now confirmed that I was at 9 centimeters, and delivery room and incubator were prepared, and all I thought I had to do was wait. But things changed when we realized there was no ventilator. Yeah, and now again I wrote that Zoe was born. She cried and was kicking everyone. She was wrapped in cling film and put in an incubator and rushed to the NICU to be intubated. Now, intubation is where they put a pipe down a preterm baby or a baby who's struggling or anyone who's struggling to breathe, so that the ventilator can basically help you breathe. And Zoe Nzilani Mongela was born again on the 30th of March 2012. Oh, she was so small. She was weighing 880 grams. That was her weight. She cried. She had life in her. Zoe Nzilani Mongela. This is a journey that has taken me a while to finally come in voice, because God has been working on me. It's been a process, and the process continues. And part of the process is this, telling the story. And my prayer is that those who need to hear this story, that God will reveal to you why you're going to listen to this. And even as I tell her story with as God leads, I'm not sure that it will be daily or weekly, but as I share her story and what happened, because as I go through my notes, I realized the days I wrote in days, or days I wrote week 1, week 2, week 3, I'll just share her story until, as God leads, we'll see where God takes this. But my prayer is that no matter where you are, no matter what you're going through, God brings stuff our way. Instead of complaining, my challenge to you, and yes, it's human to complain, and many will say, oh, she's one to speak because at least you know. Yes, I know, because I've been there. And so I also know that you may be in a position where you complaining and pain and is all that you feel like you need to share. And you may not even have understanding of why it is that God has put you through that. My prayer is that the Holy Spirit, that God, in that small still voice or somewhere inside you, that feeling, sometimes God speaks in many ways, that you will actually pause and go like, because I've reached that point where I tell God, God, sawa, I'm listening. When He brings stuff your way and you can't figure out, what is this now? What is it? You can actually pause and take it back to Him. God, what is it? Because let me tell you the truth. During Zoe's journey, I did everything most people do. You cast out, you rebuke. And now I see that the enemy had nothing to do with that. I was just giving him airtime for nothing. It was actually God's will that Zoe's life happened. It was His will that He allowed her to come, live those 63 days, and go back to Him. He knew that that's the journey my husband, myself, my home, and those who were able to interact with her needed to be turned back to Him. You see, before that, I used to claim to be, to know God and all that. But there were many areas in my life I had not surrendered to Him. And let me tell you, if God wants your attention, He will get it. And He will use anything. He can take anything or give you anything. He can give, He can take, add, everything. But His perfect plan for you is perfect. That's it. It's complete. Now I understand why He says in Romans 8:28 that all things work together. All things. All doesn't say all positive things. It says all things, whether good or bad, work together for the good of those who love Him. You have to love Him. And who are called according to His purpose. Meaning He's already called you even before you were in your mother's womb. He had made a calling on your life. So Zoe happened even when I was in my mother's womb, yet before I was born. God knew that Zoe would happen. He knew. And that it was a journey that He'd used to completely turn me back to Him. So on this 5th year anniversary of her birthday, I start the journey of telling you Zoe's story. And I'll just end by saying what God revealed to us at the end, and I'll build up to that as we go along. Zoe's names. Zoe was Zoe Nzilani Mongela. Zoe means God's life. Nzilani in Kikamba means on the way, like Njiani. And Mongela means in abundance to add. And it's amazing that as I stood at her grave 63 days later, the name literally just lifted off the grave. And with time, I started understanding Zoe Nzilani Mongela, God's life that came to add, Nzilani, Mongela to add. God's life, that came along the way to add. And that's what she did. That's what she did. So let's walk this journey as we start to understand what health and wellness in him. Because no matter what he brings your way, his ultimate goal is to call you back to himself. Because he wants you to be healthy and well in him. And I'll see you soon as we continue Zoe's journey. God bless you.